After being reborn, I decided that I wouldn't sacrifice my career to save Mark's life anymore. On his deathbed, he had a dream and whispered with tears in his eyes, "Sarah, why didn't you save me this time?" In our first life, I loved Mark enough to give up everything. So when he got into a car accident and was on the brink of death, I didn't hesitate and used a drug that hadn't been approved yet. I saved his life, but after he recovered, Jessica filed a lawsuit against me. The witness signature on the paperwork was Mark's. I got fired from the hospital and lost my medical license. I could never be a doctor again. Meanwhile, Jessica took my position and became the chief physician. Mark told me, "Sarah, this opportunity is crucial for Jessica. She has nothing but you. Even if you're not a doctor, you still have me and Leo." So I devoted myself to our family, becoming a full-time mom. But my efforts gradually became something else in their eyes. Mark often used work as an excuse to be with Jessica. New colleagues at the hospital would assume they were a couple, praising how well they matched. Even on my birthday, our son would tug at Jessica's hand, saying, "Jessica, I wish you were my mom. You're so much nicer and have a better job than my mom." I couldn't bear to listen anymore, so I initiated a divorce with Mark. When I went for a walk by the sea alone, I saw a child swept into the ocean by the waves. I saved her, but ended up lost to the sea myself. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself a month before Mark's accident. A colleague told me, "Sarah, the supervisors just had a meeting. They decided to send you to represent our hospital at the upcoming advanced medical training. If nothing unexpected happens, you'll be the chief physician when you return." I smiled and nodded in thanks. In my previous life, a similar opportunity came to me, but an hour before leaving, I heard about Mark's accident and rushed back to perform surgery on him. Jessica volunteered to take my place at the training. Later, I found out the accident happened because Mark was buying Jessica's favorite cake for her birthday, driving across town to get it. He crashed into a bridge pillar on the way back. I put away my phone and went out to my office balcony. I looked down and saw Mark, who had just told me he was exhausted from 3 surgeries, now snapping photos of Jessica under the cherry blossom tree. "How do they look, big brother?" Jessica asked excitedly, with her cheeks flushed. "Great, they always look great with you," he replied. I tried to recall if during our 7 years of marriage he'd ever taken pictures of me like that, but honestly, it didn't matter anymore. "Mark?" I called down to him. He looked up, momentarily embarrassed. "If you have time to take pictures, I guess you're not as tired as you said." "You should attend Leo's parent-teacher meeting this afternoon," I said. He frowned and started to say something, but Jessica beat him to it. "Sarah, don't misunderstand. I just wanted a photo with the cherry blossoms, that's all. You've been with Mark for so long, you know what kind of person he is, right?" Jessica was always good at twisting things in her favor. I used to get flustered and end up apologizing. My constant backing down just made everyone think they could walk over me, but not anymore. I smiled at her and said, "I just asked him to attend Leo's meeting. Isn't that what a father should do?" Mark looked at me with a mix of curiosity and surprise. I used to handle all the household matters, letting him be carefree for 7 years. He must be surprised by the change. But I turned away, focusing back in the office, shutting the balcony door. Not long after, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Mark standing there with a dessert. "The interns gifted me some food, so I brought you a little cake," he said. I stared at him for a while, then asked, "You do realize I'm allergic to cream, right?" He froze, not knowing what to do with the cake in his hand. I smirked. "Just take it back." Of course he didn't know. Mark had never really paid attention to me over the years. He never celebrated my birthday. He'd see the effort I put into his and Leo's birthdays, feel guilty for a moment, then claim he was too busy to remember mine. And then it would happen again year after year. I used to brush it off, telling myself he's just a scatterbrain, that marriage is about compromise. But knowing how much effort he put into Jessica's birthday made me realize how foolish my earlier thoughts were. As I started to close the door, he stopped it and stood there, guilt in his voice. "Sarah, I'm sorry." I smiled, saying, "It's all right, Mark. I've known you long enough." He seemed relieved. Then he suggested, "After I attend Leo's parent-teacher meeting, I'll drop him off at my mom's. How about we have dinner together tonight? It's been a while since we had a night out, just the two of us. It had been a long time. I used to rush home after work to cook, justifying that I could do more for him because I loved him. But I didn't want to be that person anymore. Sure, I agreed. I planned to tell him about the divorce over dinner. He left looking happy. Later that evening, he messaged me saying he was parked at the entrance, waiting for me. I got dressed and headed out. From a distance, through the crowd, I saw Jessica standing in front of him. She looked upset, saying something to him. As she talked, tears started falling. Mark lifted his hand and patted her shoulder. The next moment, Jessica leaned into his embrace. In a split second, my eyes met Jessica's. She quickly backed away, waving anxiously toward me, saying, "Sarah, don't get the wrong idea." But I didn't miss the brief flash of triumph in her eyes. "Sarah, Jessica's cat is sick. I need to go with her to the vet. We can have lunch another day," Mark said to me. Before I could respond, Jessica sniffled and said, "Senior, no need. You should go with Sarah. I can manage on my own. You can't upset Sarah because of me." What a manipulative little fox. Mark looked at her with concern, clearly troubled. "But you on your own." "Mark, since Jessica said she can handle it herself, let's go eat," I said. Right then, I got a surprised look from Mark and disbelief from Jessica because the old me would have been the one to quietly yield in situations like this. Jessica was sure about my reaction, which is why she said those two-faced words. Ignoring their stares, I opened the passenger door and got in. Mark was still standing there in a daze. I rolled down the window and looked at him. What? Not leaving? As Mark drove away, I saw through the rearview mirror that Jessica's face was sullen, a stark contrast to her usual cheerful self. As the car moved along the highway, neither Mark nor I spoke. I noticed his distracted demeanor. After 10 minutes, it suddenly started raining outside and his phone rang. Jessica's name flashed repeatedly on the screen. He glanced at me and I turned away. He answered the call and Jessica's frantic voice came through. "Senior, what should I do?" She started crying. "Jessica, calm down, speak slowly," he replied. "The doctor just said Snowball is in a coma and won't wake up. It's really serious. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do on my own. Could you come with me? I'm really scared." Mark didn't say anything, just turned his gaze toward me. I said calmly, "If I said you couldn't go, would you listen?" From the phone came the sound of her crying. He replied, "I'm sorry, Sarah." He left me under the overpass, even though it was pouring outside. He didn't have time to hear anything I said, making a U-turn and disappearing into the night. I stared at the city lights flickering in the dark, pulling out a forced smile in the direction he vanished. I gave you a chance. I grabbed a cab and headed home. Leo was at his grandma's, so the house was empty. I took out a suitcase and started packing. As I packed, I realized how few things in this home actually belonged to me. It was incredibly easy to erase my traces here. In the past, I always put them first, neglecting myself in the process. In this home, I was used to putting myself last. On the dresser, a necklace came into view. It was the first gift Mark ever gave me when we started dating. Turns out it was also the only one I cherished, never even wearing it, just keeping it neatly stored and occasionally looking at it before putting it away. He often teased me about it, saying I was making a big deal out of nothing. But now the necklace is just an irony, a joke to me. I took it out, looked at it closely, then tossed it in the trash without hesitation. As I was preparing to leave, I felt the ring on my finger. It was our wedding ring. I took it off and placed it alongside the divorce papers on the living room table. I moved into the hospital dormitory at around 10 o'clock. Mark called me several times. From the looks of it, he returned home and found the divorce papers. I didn't answer and turned off my phone. In the middle of the night, there was a hurried knocking on the dorm door. I opened it to find Mark looking disheveled, his hair windswept and his jacket showing signs of rain. Seeing me, he leaned against the door frame with a sigh of relief. "Sarah, what's going on? Stop messing around. Come home with me." He reached for my wrist. I pulled away forcefully. Mark stopped pretending. He froze, silent for a moment. I've already signed the divorce papers. Once you sign them, we can finalize it next week. Sarah, are you mad at me? He cautiously asked. You've always known I've only ever seen Jessica as a sister. Her parents died early and she struggled through college to become a doctor. It's not easy for the girl and I just want to help where I can. Don't overthink it, all right? I swear I've never done anything to betray you. I glanced at him. Mark, do you really think I have to catch you in bed with someone else to know you're cheating? You're my husband, but you constantly abandon me to help another woman. You can't remember my birthday, yet you never forget any of her important days. You don't care about my likes. You don't even know I'm allergic to cream. But you remember every little thing about her, like not putting cilantro in her hot pot. Do you really think this doesn't count as cheating? Senior, Jessica's voice came as she approached down the hallway. Sarah, did you guys have a fight? Is it because of me? She stood before me with an innocent face. I'm sorry, Sarah. Don't misunderstand, Senior. It's me. She suddenly started bowing and apologizing without warning. Don't let your relationship get strained because of me. There's really nothing going on between Senior and I. I didn't want to watch her act, so I turned to close the door. Mark quickly stopped me, his voice a bit shaky. Sarah, don't worry. I'll sort everything out and give you an explanation. As he finished speaking, I noticed Jessica's face change. I closed the door, ignoring them. Last time around, I sacrificed my future for him and Jessica, only to end up in a sad and miserable state. This time, I just want to cut ties with him as soon as possible and live well. The next day at work, I hadn't even reached my office when I saw Mark standing by the door with breakfast in hand. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he hurried over. I went to the breakfast spot by our college this morning to get you your favorite xiaobing. I noticed the shop's name on the back. It was that place from university about 20 kilometers from home. I didn't feel touched at all, just kind of absurd. I turned away from his outstretched hand. No need. I've already eaten, I declined. And Mark, please remember, no matter what you do, I won't change my mind about the divorce. His smile froze on his face. He stood there in the hallway, not moving, just nodding absent-mindedly at colleagues passing by who greeted him. Sarah, he called out as I was about to leave. It's Leo's birthday today. Oh, right, he reminded me. This time I had actually forgotten Leo's birthday. Mom's making dinner tonight. Let's go celebrate his birthday after work, he said with a hopeful look. Since coming back this time, I haven't seen Leo. Last time I was fired and became a full-time caregiver. My days revolved around him, but to him, I had no job and was too strict, not matching his idea of a good mom. This time, I'll give him a choice. Okay, I agreed. His face lit up at my confirmation. I'll pick you up after work then. With that, he hurried over to give me the breakfast before walking on off quickly. I looked at the now cold xiaobing in my hand and tossed it into the trash. When work ended, he surprisingly stood outside my office on time, holding a grapefruit tea. It was my favorite during our dating days. I got this just for you, he said, presenting it like a gift. Passing nurses teased, Mark, you're so sweet to Sarah. This tea shop always has long lines. Thanks, I said, but I don't like it anymore. Mark's face faltered. I still took it and handed it to a nurse. Want it? The nurse accepted it happily. Thanks, Sarah, she said, walking off delightedly. Mark opened his mouth but didn't say anything. I walked ahead, glancing back at him. Aren't we going to Leo's birthday? He snapped out of it and caught up. In the car, he unusually kept trying to find topics to chat about, even throwing in a few lame jokes. I rested my head against the window, staying silent. Maybe it was just too awkward. He eventually went quiet. Over half an hour later, we arrived at his parents' complex. I followed him into the elevator. Even before stepping out, I could hear Leo's happy laughter in the living room. Leo was playing with the latest toy in hand. His grandma emerged from the kitchen with crabs, followed by Jessica, who was helping. She looked toward Leo and asked, Leo, do you like the gift your auntie got you? She had it brought from overseas just for you. I love it, and I really want the chocolate too, but Mom never lets me have it, Leo replied, jumping up to hug her. Mark's mom turned to them with an approving look and praised Jessica. Jessica, you're so considerate. Sarah is just too strict. She won't let Leo eat this or that. Poor Leo, she said. I didn't let Leo eat chocolate because he's allergic to cocoa. Once, he had chocolate given by someone and got sick instantly, throwing up and having diarrhea all night. Seeing me watching quietly at the door, Mark cleared his throat and said, Leo, Mom and I are here. Yet Leo simply looked up at us and unwillingly hid behind his grandma, mumbling, Why did Mom come too? I wanted to stay longer at Grandma's. I entered, glancing at Jessica when Mark quickly explained, I didn't invite Jessica. Jessica is my goddaughter now. I invited her over for dinner. Is that too much to ask? Mark's mom said, looking at me with an unapologetic expression. Goddaughter? Yes. Jessica's a smart, sensible girl, and I really like her. If Mark wasn't married... Mom, Mark hastily interrupted. It's Leo's birthday. Let's not say these things. Reluctantly, Mark's mom closed her mouth. Sarah, don't be mad. I'm close with Mark's mom. I've longed for family since losing mine early. Being her goddaughter doesn't threaten you, Jessica said. If it really bothers you, I won't come again. Oh, please, Jessica, you don't need to say much. You're not coming? I won't agree to that. Let's eat. It's dinner time. Mark tried to change the subject quickly. He nudged his mom towards the kitchen to serve the rest of the dishes, and Jessica followed, leaving me and Leo alone in the dining room. But he was too busy with his new toy to even notice me. Leo, I called out. He looked up at me, clearly unhappy that I'd interrupted him. Come here, I want to talk to you. He finally shuffled over and plopped down a seat away from me. I want to ask you something. If Mom and Dad got a divorce, would you want to live with me? He looked up, stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly started giggling. I was stunned. I'd imagined many reactions, but not this one. No way. I don't want to live with you. If you and Dad split, no one would keep watching over me. Plus, Dad could marry Jessica then, right? Jessica would be my mom, and that would be awesome. I've always wanted Jessica to be my mom. Well, there goes my last bit of hope. Just like in the past, all he cared about was Jessica. I'll respect his choice. Mark came out carrying a dish and naturally sat beside me. I noticed Jessica's expression change before she casually sat on his other side. He picked up some braised pork and placed it in my bowl. Sarah, you should eat more. Jessica wasn't the only one caught off guard. Mark's mother was surprised too. It was something Mark used to do only for himself in the past. The meal was filled with mixed feelings all around. As it was about to end, I saw everyone was there and decided to break the news about the divorce. I put my chopsticks down. Mom, Mark and I want to tell you something. Seeing how serious I suddenly was, Mark paused, looking uncomfortably at me. We're planning to split. Sarah, let me get you some soup, he interrupted loudly, standing up abruptly. I glanced at him and wasn't planning to back off. We're planning to get a divorce. Sarah, this chicken soup was stewed all afternoon by Mom. You should have some. He pretended not to hear what I had said, turned around, and grabbed a bowl to serve me soup. Without a word, I stood up, grabbed my bag, and prepared to leave. He grabbed my arm, almost pleading. Sarah, I don't agree to a divorce. Mark's mom snapped out of her shock, abruptly standing up. Mark, divorce her. What does she think she's got going on? Once you leave her, I doubt anyone would want a second-hand woman like her. And it's perfect. Jessica can become my daughter-in-law, which makes me really happy. Jessica, standing beside her, couldn't hide the joy in her eyes hearing those words. Well then, let me congratulate these two in advance, I said, shaking off Mark's hand and addressing his mom. Then I looked at Leo, who was still eating. Leo, you live with your dad and grandma, okay? Mom, don't say that, Mark shouted. I took the chance to open the door and got into the elevator. I didn't expect him to chase after me. Sarah! I didn't turn around. Then I heard a scream from upstairs. Mark's mom's voice echoed loudly. Mark, come back! Jessica fell. Mark stopped in his tracks. I turned to look at him. He lowered his head, avoiding my gaze. Mark, stop lying to yourself. You can't ignore Jessica. No, Sarah, trust me. I'll handle everything. Give me 3 days and I'll give you a satisfactory answer, he said, turning and walking away. I watched him vanish once more, feeling somewhat helpless. How many times in these 7 years had he left me for Jessica? Mark, I'm not changing my mind. In those 3 days, I heard neither Mark nor Jessica showed up for work. 3 days later, Mark appeared at my dorm door. He looked rough, with stubble and dark circles under his eyes. He handed me a document. I took it and opened it. It was the divorce agreement I had given him. He had signed his name on the last page. I raised an eyebrow, tucked it away, and prepared to close the door. Sarah, he stopped me. This past week, Jessica was in the hospital, so... No need to explain. I shook the divorce papers. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Whether you're with Jessica or someone else, you don't have to report to me. Sarah, she tried to kill herself. Hearing this, I wasn't shocked. I asked him, "Oh, so she's not pretending anymore?" He lowered his head again, not meeting my eyes. With a click, I shut the door, leaving him outside. I heard a soft apology. Sarah, I'm sorry. Looking at the signed divorce papers, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Finally, I had walked out of this mess. Mark, I wish you the best in your upcoming surgery after your accident. Jessica can go all out to save you. I'm not getting involved in this drama anymore. A week later, Jessica returned to the hospital looking healthy and radiant. No one could tell she'd almost ended up in the ICU after a suicide attempt. Back with her was a big, sparkly Tiffany ring. At lunchtime in the cafeteria, Jessica and her friends purposely sat behind me, making sure I heard every word. Jessica, that huge rock is stunning. It's Tiffany, right? Mark must have spent a fortune. Well, he can afford it. Besides this, he bought me several rare leather bags. He said as long as I like it, it's no problem. Mark really loves you. You're so lucky. Mark is the dream guy for so many female doctors and nurses here. I can't believe you snagged him right after the divorce. Another woman chimed in. Jessica wins the wedding with Mark. We're planning for next month. My mom checked the calendar and found some good days for a wedding, Jessica said a bit shyly. Wow, you're already calling her mom, teased Sarah. Jessica giggled. She's always liked me. Since Mark and I are definitely getting married, she told me to start calling her mom. By the way, this jade bracelet was a gift from her. She said it's passed down to the daughters-in-law in Mark's family. Ah, remarked Sarah, you're so lucky. Mark's great, but he's been married before and has a kid. Otherwise, he'd be perfect. Jessica grinned. I love kids. Leo and I get along so well. He even says I'm better to him than his own mom. He keeps telling me he loves me and dreams of having me as his mom. And guess what? He called me mom when I got discharged from the hospital, Jessica said excitedly. Then she suddenly noticed Sarah and added, Oh, Sarah, you're here too. Don't take it the wrong way. I wasn't trying to brag. I'm just so happy and wanted to share it. Sarah calmly put down her chopsticks and whispered in Jessica's ear. Don't worry. Seeing someone scoop up the trash I tossed away makes me happy. It's like recycling waste. Jessica's face changed and she stood up angrily. You're just bitter because Mark's marrying me, not you. Stop pretending you're not jealous. Sarah chuckled and patted Jessica's shoulder. Jessica, keep that act up. Don't let Mark see the real you just before the wedding. You know how much he loves that sweet image of you. No worries. I heard every single word you wanted me to hear. With Jessica fuming, Sarah walked away, but not before Jessica tried to trip her, causing Sarah to spill leftovers and soup on Jessica's head. Jessica cried out, and by the time Mark arrived, Sarah had already noticed the surveillance cameras and calmly said, The cameras will show who started it. Mark looked worriedly at Sarah. Are you okay? She brushed it off. I'm fine, Jessica. I have zero interest in what you and Mark have going on. Let's keep it professional, otherwise I'll spill the beans on everything. A week later, while preparing for a business trip, Sarah was about to catch a cab when Mark approached. Business trip? He asked. Yep, 2 to 3 months. Want a ride? He offered. Sarah declined. No thanks. As her cab arrived, she looked at him one last time and said, Sometimes fate is in your hands, Mark. Take care. And with that, she left. Later at the airport, messages from her work group chat exploded. Mark had an accident near the hospital. They were taking him to the ER. Sarah ignored the messages, switching her phone to airplane mode. 3 hours later, when she landed, she found out the full story. On his way to Jessica's birthday, Mark crashed. Jessica, being a doctor, operated on him, but there were complications. Mark didn't make it. When his mom found out, she went berserk and wanted Jessica to pay for her son's life, causing chaos at the hospital. Jessica was under investigation and temporarily suspended. Reports came in. A nurse said Mark was conscious for a moment before he passed. He was crying, murmuring something like, "Sarah, and why didn't I save him?" Mark was gone. Jessica was in serious trouble, suspended and being looked into. Mark's mom was furious with her. She brought relatives to Jessica's house every day, demanding compensation. Eventually, Jessica sold her house and gave all her savings to Mark's mom, but that wasn't enough. She kept causing a scene at the hospital. The hospital had no choice but to let Jessica go. She lost her job too. Leo was sent to a boarding school by Mark's mom. By the time I got back from training, it had all been over for more than a month. I got promoted as expected, finally becoming an attending physician. 3 years later, I was heading to the grocery store after work. Just as I left my building, someone bumped into me, dropping my phone and cracking its screen. He covered his face, ready to run, but I caught him quickly. When he turned, I was breathless. It was Leo. Leo had gotten so much thinner. The mischievous look in his eyes had dimmed. Hearing me call him, he couldn't hold back and leapt into my arms, sobbing. "Mom," he cried. "Mom, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I miss you so much." Right then, a little girl ran up from behind me. "Mom, you forgot your keys." Leo froze. I turned, taking the girl's hand, and introduced, "This is Olivia." The girl was the child I saved from the beach in a previous life. This time, I found her on the day of the incident and got her to safety before the waves hit. She later told me she went to the beach to catch fish to make soup for her grandma. She didn't have parents, just a grandma who collected trash for a living. Her grandma got sick, and she wanted to find something to help her. At that moment, I left her my phone number and told her to reach out if she needed help. When she called, it was the day her grandma passed away. I helped her with the funeral. Before leaving, looking at this sensible child, I had an idea. I knelt down and asked her, "Olivia, would you like to be my daughter?" I adopted Olivia. She's very sweet and sensible. Leo hesitated before speaking. She called you Mom just now." Once more, I opened my eyes to a month before Mark's accident. "Mark, yeah." The kid couldn't hide his disappointment. He lowered his head, shouldering his backpack, and turned away slowly. As he was about to disappear from my sight, I called out, "Leo." He turned back, surprised. "If you're not happy at Grandma's, you can come back to Mom." He interrupted me with a smile. "No, Grandma is nice to me, Mom. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was immature back then." With that, he quickly hopped on the bus. My throat tightened. Maybe this time, he really was sorry. Later, I heard Jessica had found a new boyfriend and was engaged. But on her wedding day, Mark's mom crashed the ceremony with a group, creating chaos. She exposed everything about Jessica's marriage to her son. Jessica's fiancé called off the wedding. Before she left, Mark's mom warned Jessica not to think about remarrying as long as she was alive. Jessica would never have a good life. But none of that had anything to do with me.